Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. As you can see, up again with the larks. Reason for that, got to go into town again. I've still got to get some little bits and bobs done on my scooter this morning, so I'm up with the larks. Jane's just been out for a walk this morning and is now feeding the cats. So I thought I'd come on the back balcony again and just show you what a beautiful day it is today. Thank you again for everybody that was dropping us messages yesterday over what's been going on here in Greece and also in Zakynthos as well. The weather for today then, again, it's going to be another hot one. Thank you for Amanda for her message. She says, morning Ginge, Tuesday's weather, hazy with sun. It's going to be very hot. Temperatures 37 degrees, so that's a lot hotter, but it's going to feel like 40. And she says, have a great day. Also as well, according to the Fire Risk Forest Charter issued by the General Secretary of Civil Protection for Zakynthos, today, Tuesday, the 10th of August, again, it's a very high fire risk is foreseen. Again, we're in a state 4 category here on Zakynthos with the second stages of operation implemented as well. That means no use of any equipment that causes sparks or heat being allowed to be used in fields. Also as well, as I've told you, we have a curfew in areas here on the island from 6 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning, and that is for anti-fire. It seems that this curfew is going to be extended now until Friday. So once again, there are certain areas that are out of bounds at 6 o'clock in the evening till 6 o'clock in the morning. Can I just ask you that through the day when you're riding about and going about exploring, please stay on the beaten tracks. There are areas that are cordoned off, especially around the Basilikos areas, up in the Bolymez areas, where obviously they don't want people in vehicles going off the beaten trail who may inadvertently cause fires in those locations. So everybody basically is on extra fire alert at the moment. When it comes to flights today, we've got 8 flights approximately in from the UK. There's 3 in from Manchester, there's 4 in from London, there's 1 also in from Birmingham. I do know that lovely Lyndon is going home today in the evening. I think he's flying to Cardiff, although it's not on the boards yet, Lyndon. Can I just say thank you for last night, and also everybody at Benico's restaurant as well for your company. Also Steve Hinklin as well for your company as well. It was really a lovely evening. I must admit that you were busy in Benico's last night. They were certainly rushing around. There was still the buzz around the area, even though there's no music and it was a bit quiet. Magdalena's was a bit buzzy as well. But again, everybody just thinking no music, it's crazy. The sooner the ban is lifted, the sooner people can obviously, like myself, can get back to work as well. And trust me, I should be looking forward to going back to work as well. But anyway, we'll see what the next few days brings. Right, when it comes to COVID in the last 24 hours, I'm afraid infections are up across Greece again. The other day I did report 1,852. Today, 2,595 new infections across the country. 9 new cases detected into the country, which was exactly the same as before. Now, according to the national stats, I'm still keeping an eye on these islands at the moment. Mykonos had 22 new infections. We follow Mykonos because of Mykonos we're in the situation we're in at the moment. Rhodes is also 22 cases as well, which was quite an eye raiser. Lefkada, which is one of our smaller neighbours, they had 13 cases. Corfu, our big neighbour, they had 44 new cases, but they are not in the red that we are. Also, when it comes to Kefalonia, they had 1 case on their island, and Zakynthos, I'm afraid we've had 12 cases in the last 24 hours. That means this month alone we've had 121 cases for the month of August. So at the moment, we see how that is going to bode with the authorities when it comes to reassessing us at the end of this mini lockdown that we have at the moment. Anyway, when it comes to deaths across Greece from COVID, they've actually gone up slightly as well. 17 on my last report. Today, it's 20 new deaths across the country. That brings the death toll now to 13,097. The average age of those people, 79 years of age, 96% of them had underlying health problems or were over the age of 70. And once again, our condolences to families that were affected there as well. When it comes to critical cases, again, they're starting to creep up as well. 204 on the previous report, 207 now. That's 127 male, 80 female. Again, the average age of people in critical cases is 67 years of age. 83% of those people have underlying health issues or over the age of 70. Again, that's a bit of a worry that these numbers are starting to creep up. Once again, just to remind you that 900 is the number of ICU beds that Greece has across the country. So again, the numbers are starting to creep up on the ICU front, and hopefully they're not going to creep up any more than what they already have. Right, today's news then. Firefighters and residents have battled a massive forest fire on Greece's second largest island for the 7th day. And on Monday, fighting to save what they can from the flames that have decimated vast tracts of pristine forest, destroyed homes and businesses, and has sent thousands fleeing. Now, the smoke and ash from the fire on Eva, which is a rugged island of forests. In fact, Dennis and I were talking about it yesterday, about just what a beautiful island it looked. It's not a place that either of us, I think, have been to, but it looked very, very beautiful. It also has a lot of coves, and it's just touching the Greek mainland with the location of it. Anyway, the smoke has been so thick that it's actually been blocking out the sun and turning the sky orange as the blaze has been rampaging across the northern part of that island. Now, Eva's fire is the most severe of the dozens that have broken out across Greece. You've probably seen it on the media and on the television. And in the past, after the country was baked by the worst heat for 3 decades, this has sent temperatures soaring to 45 degrees Celsius. That's 113 degrees Fahrenheit. And this has been going on for days now. Now, the heat coming amid what has already been a particularly hot summer has turned Greece's forests, including large areas of very easy flammable pine trees, basically into a tinder-dry tinderbox. Anyway, one big fire has been burning forests and farmland in the southern part of Greece, in the region of the Peloponnese, which you can actually see from the shores here of Zakynthos, while major blazes have turned and gone through homes there, businesses and forests on the northern fringes of Athens. They're actually on the wane at the moment, as the fire brigades over there have managed to gain control. Now, the wildfires have stretched Greece's firefighting capabilities to the limits, and the government has appealed for help from abroad, with more than 20 countries, including the United Kingdom, in Europe and in the Middle East, have responded, sending planes, helicopters, vehicles and manpower. However, many residents and local officials have complained at the lack of firefighters, and some have been taken to calling the Greek television networks to appeal for help, particularly from water bombing planes and helicopters. Anyway, one person said, "We were completely forsaken. There were no fire brigades, there were no vehicles, nothing." This was David Angelo, who had been on Eva in the seaside village of Prefki and left the island by ferry to the mainland on the Sunday night. Anyway, he said you could feel enormous heat. There was a lot of smoke. You could see the sun, a red ball, and then nothing else around you, he said. Anyway, Greek Civil Protection Chief Nikos Hariadis has stressed that firefighters have been doing everything they can. On Sunday, a small firefighting plane crashed on the western Greek island of Zakynthos. Yep, I brought that story to you. Luckily, the pilot was okay. However, massive fires have also raged for more than 10 days in neighbouring Turkey, while firefighters are still trying to extinguish a blaze in 5 locations in the coastal province of Mulga, in the country's southwest. The situation is improving. Agriculture and Forest Minister Berak Pandemi said late on Sunday it's too soon to say the fires are under control, but we are reaching that point. On Eva, overnight, residents and firefighters managed to save most of the village of Prevki on the island's northern tip, where fast-moving flames entered the outskirts on Saturday evening and destroyed at least 1 home. A ferry that had been sent to Prevki to potentially evacuate people by sea turned into a temporary shelter for those residents of other nearby villages who didn't have a means to flee towards the northern part of Eva's main harbour of Adidipos, or wanted to remain near their homes so they could return and check on them whenever they felt it was safe to do so. So the ferry basically turned into basically a mobile home. It's not the first time ferries have been used for this. They've been used for this, I remember, in Kefalonia when we had the earthquake a few years ago, which was quite serious, and people were living on the ferry and on cruise ships that they brought in as well while they were waiting for being safe for people to go back to their homes. Anyway, on Monday morning, it found dozens of local residents, many with pets, sleeping on chairs on the ferry or on the lounge chairs in the Prekes, Pebble Beach. Most of the surrounding villages had been left without power and running water due to the fire. Now, there was a report going around yesterday that Greek media said that the commander of the Hellenic Army Air Force, George Koumendakis, had submitted his resignation yesterday. Now, according to reports, the resignation is linked to the availability of Chinook helicopters in the firefighting efforts around the country, where wildfires have devastated, obviously, large swathes of forest. Now, an official announcement was expected by the Hellenic National Defence General Staff. The Army Air Force has 14 Chinook helicopters, just 3 of which had participated in the firefighting operations in previous days, according to information from the Greek Defence Minister. Now, just not wanting to jump the gun here, I think basically this man has resigned because basically he hadn't fulfilled his requirements in making sure that there were aircraft serviceable and flying, which would ultimately be his responsibility to come and put the fire out. So in some ways, it's nice to see somebody doing the honourable thing and resigning. And I look at what's gone on in the UK and with the cluster messes that have been going on over there with people in authority, in powers of position, who just sail on without a second thought, with a mess left behind them, when in fact any honourable person would resign. I'm talking about the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Dix. I'm also talking about the other people that have been running the health and SAGE and everything else in the UK, where they just sail on to the next job without a care in the world. At least there's a little bit of honour in the officer class here in Greece. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll see what becomes of that. Now, in the meantime, it seems that Russian President Vladimir Putin accepted on Monday a request by Greece for more firefighting aircraft to tackle the massive wildfires that have been ravaging several areas of the country in recent days. Moscow is going to send 2 Ilyusha 76 water bomber aircraft and 2 Mileni M8 helicopters also to Greece. They also said from the Russian embassy the response will be immediate. They released in a tweet. The request was made by the Premier Prime Minister Mitsotakis and the Foreign Minister Nikos Dentas. It also added, Russia has already deployed a Brevith aircraft in Greece, which is operating at the ongoing wildfire in Eva. So again, the Russians are coming and the Russians are sending aircraft. Once again, remember, Russia is also experiencing very, very big fires at the moment. Some of the biggest fires, and I think they lost something in the region of about 16 million hectares of forest area in their country alone. So it's not only Greece that's suffering, Turkey's suffering, Russia is suffering, and also America in California has also been having wildfires as well. Anyway, Greek authorities have begun assessing the damage from the wildfires that have devastated huge swathes of forest and forced thousands to flee their homes over the past week as fires burned unabated in many parts of the country on Monday. Now, the biggest front was on the island of Eva, east of the capital, which has so far forced the evacuations of dozens of villages and thousands of people, while flames engulf forests and homes in the island's north. Now, Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis was due to chair a ministerial meeting on Monday on relief measures for those who had lost property in the fires. He said, our aim is to complete the inventory as soon as possible in order to immediately begin the process of compensating our affected citizens. The Ministry of Infrastructure and Transport said it in a statement. Now, on Eva, Greece's second largest island, which lies just off the mainland, water-bombing aircraft struggled to operate because of large plumes of smoke blanketing the area, authorities said. The fire broke out during Greece's worst heat wave in 3 decades last week, with searing temperatures and dry heat causing tinderbox conditions. Temperatures had cooled somewhat, but were forecast to rise again during the week, meaning the risk of flare-ups still remains very high. Now, in Athens, officials began to assess the damage from a blaze which tore through several suburbs north of the city last week before beginning to recede on Saturday. The blaze, which broke out in the foothills of Mount Parthi on the outskirts of the capital, sent thousands of people fleeing and damaged homes and businesses, as well as thousands of hectares of forest land. Greece has received assistance from a number of European countries to help battle the flames. More than 600 firefighters tried to contain the fire on Eva on Monday. More than 2,000 residents and tourists have been evacuated by ferry since last Tuesday. Now, the Panhellenic Federation, that's another story which I'll come on to in a minute. So basically at the moment, Greece is not out of the woods yet. The fires are still raging in parts of the country. Also, it looks like this heat wave is obviously going to start to increase again. So once again, can I just implore people here on Zakynthos, please, please, please just be very careful what you do. Be very careful where you go. Please have discipline about your cigarette smoking. If you're flicking cigarette ends, just don't do it. Please be very careful if you decide you're going to have a barbecue or something of that nature. Just be very careful what you do. Please do not add to what's already going on. We've had one near miss here already over the weekend, and we'd like it to stay like that. We know our fire guys are out at the moment, virtually 24 hours, fire pickets all over the island, watching and observing. Locals as well are observing and watching, because again, there are people who like to watch the flames dance. And also yesterday, arrests were being made of people, not here on Zakynthos, but in other locations where they know they are known arsonists. They are obviously being taken into custody to be on the safe side. And one of them was actually caught in the act of actually trying to start a fire as well. So once again, please, please, please just be very, very careful with what you're doing when you're out and about, if you're here on the island of Zakynthos, and if you're anywhere else in Greece as well, because I know we have people tuning in from all over. Just be really, really careful about what you're doing. Right, going on to something related to COVID now. The Panhellenic Federation of Public Hospital Employees, or PODIN, sent a legal notice to the Ministry of Health, Interior, Labour and Finance, informing them of its decision that health workers will abstain from compulsory vaccinations. It was sent 10 days before the deadline for employees at care homes for the elderly and the disabled to be vaccinated against COVID-19, and 25 days before the corresponding deadline for employees at public hospitals whose administration have already been asked to compile lists of vaccinated and unvaccinated personnel. In its notice, Podine argues that ordering staff to present a certificate of vaccination or illness as defined by the institutional framework violates the individual right to data protection and especially sensitive health data of employees. It added that it violates the constitutional rights of those that choose not to get vaccinated. And I'm so pleased that even though we've got this big fire crisis going on, that other things that are going on behind the scenes, where it's very easy for governments to start slipping through legislation because we're all too busy worrying about the fires than worrying about what's going on in other areas. People are still on top of it. So can I say well done to the Public Health Employees Workers Federation, simply because it should be all right whether you are vaccinated or not. It should be all right. Not that you should be blackmailed, threatened, charmed, and everything else that's gone on to get people to take the vaccine. If you don't want it, it's your choice not to have it. And I'm pleased that they are still working through a legal framework to try and overturn what I can only describe as one of the biggest, I can't even find words to describe it at the moment, to be honest, but I am 100% behind you on this. I don't want the vaccine at the moment. I am happy just to let my body run its own immune system and see how things transpire. The vaccine hasn't been the freedom that everybody thought it was going to be. I'm not saying don't get vaccinated. Don't get me wrong. That's your choice, your decision, whether you get vaccinated or not. But if you're telling me, trying to bribe me, trying to force me to vaccinate, threatening me with my job, threatening me through my taxes and everything else, basically making me a second-class citizen because I'm not vaccinated, it is a slippery slide. And also as well, you have to keep asking the question, why are you so intent on vaccinating people that don't want to be vaccinated? If I was suffering from cancer or if I was suffering from asthma, you certainly wouldn't be threatening me with sanctions for not taking my medicine. All right. So I just, again, the more you push, the more you shove, the more, like myself, I'm going to dig my heels in and just say, no, I am not convinced about these vaccines, not convinced in 100 years as to whether it's good or whether it's bad. Let others have the vaccine. If they want it, that's their choice. But me, my choice is no. So again, I take my hat off to the Hellenic Federation of Public Hospital Employees. I'm behind you 100%. And the other interesting thing as well about those employees is that nearly 90% of them have already had the vaccine. So therefore, 10% of their members haven't. And as far as they're concerned, do you know what? It's up to those 10%. It's their choice whether they have it or not. We don't want to have to impose it on them. And I remember during the Gulf War, American troops being held down and being forcibly vaccinated against anthrax and all sorts of other diseases that we were expecting to encounter, and it never happened. And those people probably went on to suffer Gulf War syndrome, other illnesses later in their lives as the result of those vaccinations. And that's one of the reasons why I just don't want the vaccine at the moment, this rush to produce it. Also remember, some of these vaccines have not been fully cleared by the American administration, Drugs and Food Administration as well. They're only partially through that clearance. So therefore, it just makes you wonder, why is it you want us to have this so badly? So much money has been spent on it. Big Pharma has made so much money out of it that you basically desperate to get those that are not vaccinated. And those that are unvaccinated, like myself, you just make life really difficult, very awkward and very hard, as if we're going to keel over and say, right, that's it, we're going to have it. But anyway, that's by the by. Right, that's it from me for today. I'm shooting off away. I've got jobs to do today. Can I just say thank you again to Lyndon last night, and also Steve as well. Lyndon, you have a safe journey if I don't manage to see you before the end of today. Also, Eva from Israel, sorry we missed you yesterday. Obviously, at some point we will catch up. Again, we will wait and see how this week still proceeds. We still got a bit of a way to go yet till Friday, and see if this ban on music and the curfew here from 1 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the morning is lifted. Fingers crossed it is lifted, and then we can get back to a reasonably normal season, and obviously try and salvage what we can from everything that's crazy that's gone on in 2021. Anyway, thank you to all those people who are tuning in. Christine Brown, Vicky Wood, Amanda Gregory, also Shane Bowen as well. Cheers for your comments yesterday as well on the Northern Soul show, and also on the show. In fact, I just noticed that the Dance Anthem show is charted as well in the Mixcloud chart, which is really great. Right, I'm going to go now. Things to do. Mr. Cockerell saying, oi, I want me breakfast. Anyway, I better go. You take care and you have a great day. Ta-ra.